So this is the video I'm making to help you guys understand which hoops to buy for your first hoop. So I apologize ahead of time. There's a pipe that burst in my room, technically in my closet yesterday. So now my room is a complete mess and I'm filming this in a tiny little corner inside of my room. But I have my starter hoop and my roommate's starter hoop to show you guys the difference in the piping. So I will post all of these links. If you guys click through and go to the YouTube this is on, I will post all of the links to the shops that I've been buying my hoops from. But there are a million different makers. On Etsy, on Facebook, I've met so many amazing people that make hoops that honestly you can, as long as you know what type of hoop you need, you can order your hoop from any of these great makers. There's no specific, unless you're doing a specific type of hoop like an LED hoop, then you should probably do some research about who you're going to buy from, since they're so expensive and they have different they have different options. So first things first, my beginner's hoop was made out of PSI, which is a certain type of tubing that has a certain weight to it. It definitely helped me learn there are different weights of PSI. The shop that I bought from, Stellar Sunshine Hoops, has 160 PSI, 100 PSI, and 125 PSI. My roommate's hoop was 160 PSI, and it's 3/4 of an inch thick. The actual tubing is 3/4 of an inch thick. So this is my roommate's starter hoop, and you can see that it's super beat up because all beginners hoops get beat up, so don't get attached to how it looks. It's covered in grip tape, which your beginner's hoop needs to be. This tape is gaffer's tape. It's like anybody who's ever worked in theater before, they use this a lot. It hugs your body. So if you're learning how to shoulder hoop or learning how to hoop and you have a bare belly, it helps it keep in contact with your skin. So you can see how thick it is, especially in comparison to my beginner's hoop, which was 100 PSI. It was a different weight. It was slightly lighter, but it was still 3/4 of an inch thick. So you can see that 3/4 of an inch doesn't mean how thick it is like here. 3/4 of an inch is actually how thick the tubing that makes the circumference of your hoop. So it's actually, if you were to cut this open, you would see that it is barely hollow on the inside because it's 3/4 of an inch thick. Mine is thinner because it is a lighter PSI. So mine's only 100. Hers was 160, and I would suggest you guys get 100 just because 160 was a little bit too heavy. I liked it for maybe exercising, like if you want to get something like that and you want to do, there's so many different hoop workouts that you can look up that strengthen your core, strengthen your legs, help your stamina, and I kind of like it for that type of thing. But for learning tricks, it really just like bruises the hell out of you, and for me it wasn't necessary to get one this heavy, and I think my roommate would have rather have one this heavy as well, or this light as well. So for the size, they say to measure from the floor to your belly button, or ideally anywhere between your belly button and the bottom of your boobs. So usually beginners hoops range anywhere from 38 to 42 or even 43, and those are the inches of the entire hoop standing. So it would be the entire diameter of the hoop is what they're measuring. They're not measuring the circumference of the hoop. They're measuring the diameter of how tall it is. So My roommate's hoop comes up to a little bit above my belly button, or it comes to my belly button. And this one I also used when I was learning. I really liked it. It is exactly 40 inches. My beginner's hoop, I decided to get a 38 because I already sort of knew how to hoop from when I was a kid. It was much harder, but I never really regretted getting a 38, but I do know other beginners who started with a 38 and wish that they would have gotten a 40. But mine is it's just a tiny bit smaller, like my belly button's right here, and it comes just like barely an inch below. But I also have really long legs and a short torso, so all of that comes into play when you're buying a hoop. If you guys go to the same shop that I went to, you're also going to see the option for 1/2 of tubing, 1/2 psi with 125, which is super light. And it doesn't really make sense that 125 psi is lighter than 100. Remember, my blue one is 100 psi, and I mean, it's pretty weighted. As you can, I mean, I don't know if this means anything to anyone, but I can barely, like, I can't move it without using muscle to hold it up. 125 psi is something that is really for when you've been hooping for a while. I just got my 125 psi, and I'm still trying to learn different tricks with it because not only is it smaller, but it's a lot lighter. It's not completely weightless like Polypro hoops, which I don't have one yet. It's supposed to be coming hopefully this weekend. But Polypros are made of a special plastic. It's it's very similar to the children's hoops, but it's actually better quality. But it's almost weightless, and that's amazing for when you're doing arm tricks, because as you can see right now, my arm tricks kind of suffer from my weighted hoop. But when you're learning how to body hoop, it's very difficult with the lighter that your hoop is. So my new hoop, which I practice on concrete, which is horrible, so it's already pretty beat up. I'm going to have to repair it. But this one is 1/2 of an inch, and it's 125 psi, so it's super, super light. It's also only, I think it's 35 inches, so it only comes to here. I think that's all of the information for now. I guess, just make sure your hoop is covered in grip tape, please. And even when you get, like, even now I still use grip tape. It's just on this hoop, instead of it being wrapped, it's only around the inside and the middle. The last thing I was going to tell you was collapsible hoops. Super helpful. Some stores will charge you a little bit extra to make it collapsible. Stellar Sunshine does it as an option. You can either get it collapsible or not. Collapsible hoops. She has a whole special video about how to collapse your hoops, how to get them out of being collapsed, because when it's mailed to you, it will already be collapsed, and how to maintain your hoop. And I will put the link to that in the bottom of this video. But I will just tell you that it helps a lot when you want to take your hoop different places, but you should never store your hoop collapsed. It sort of warps it after a while. But just to show some of you who were asking about how they collapse down, they go into, it's called the figure 8 method. This is how, that's not good. This is how a lot of hoops collapse. This is the option that they have. And I like this. I like this option a lot. It kind of pops out sometimes, especially when it's used to being open, which is a good thing. But I kind of tuck them behind one another so that they don't pop out as often. And the big hoops collapse down like this too. It's actually easier. So it helps if you want to take your hoops traveling, or even when I take my hoop to work, I will usually fold it down and then put it in a bag or just carry it. Super helpful, and they unfold just as easily. So I hope I answered everyone's questions. If I didn't, let me know and I'll leave a comment on here. But I hope you guys all get your hoops soon. I can't wait to see you start. And I love you all. Have an amazing day. And I cannot wait to see all of your beautiful hooping pictures.